Hi, my name is Gary Morris. My project is titled Understanding Mimus polygonata, Nesting Distribution, Orientation, and Behavior. For short, we call it the Mockingbird Project. This is a project I've worked on for about 2 years, 1 year and a half, give or take. Some background information, not many of you probably have taken an ornithology class, but Mimus polygonata is the fancy way of saying the northern mockingbird. The Latin name literally translates to mimics many voices. It's one of 27 in its genus, and it's Arkansas's only native mockingbird. Their range is variable. It stretches from about south of Mexico all the way up to Canada sometimes, give or take, if it's a good view or not. But in Arkansas, they're year-round residents. You'll catch them in the summer, you'll catch them in the winter, and you'll catch them during migration. They are one of 3 members of the family Mimidae that we have. Mimidae are the mimics, so the thrashers, catbirds, and tremblers, and mockingbirds. In the south, they experience very little migration behavior, so we may lose a few, we may gain a few, but overall our population will stay about the same. Historically, these birds nested in almost desert habitat. Historically, Arkansas and everything west of the Mississippi was a desert, so only natural for these birds to actually prefer desert habitat. If you go out west to California, you will actually still see mockingbirds nest in this kind of habitat. They're super popular out there, and if you go to almost any grassland, or on the side of the road where we have this like pseudo grassland, you'll find mockingbirds nesting in abundance. They're really picky on what they build their nest on. Most birds, super tall trees. That's not the case for mockingbird. Mockingbird nests are limited in height to 3 meters at the lowest and up to 20 meters. So we're not talking very high. We're talking about maybe a story in terms of like building. But other than that, these are really young tree specialists. These aren't the warblers or cardinals that build their nests basically anyway. Their nest construction will usually begin early in March. This year we actually caught nesting around February, so it's a little early this year. These birds are really famous for their super territorial behavior. You can find these birds fighting robins, other mockingbirds, crows, basically anything that comes onto their territory. These birds will fight, even if it's 2 or 3 times its own size. During nest construction and mating, these birds are highly visible. Best way to see one, look at a power line. They'll perch on the top of power lines, do a little bit of a dance that I'll kind of show you guys, and that is their courtship ritual. Like I said, fighting is super common. You always know when mockingbirds find crows, because they will mob crows. On campus, we see them fighting robins about once or twice a day. But one really unique thing about these birds is they're strong monogamous bonds, which means they'll mate for life. 1 and 2 will stay together until one of the mates die. Very rarely will we see any sort of polygamy. Usually, if a third bird comes in, he'll get beaten out, either by male or female. And now I mentioned the mockingbird dance. This is actually becoming super common right now. I actually saw one walking here of mockingbird doing this little dance. And so what they show off is this white little wing bar, and you can see it really bad. It's not a good photo, it's a phone picture, so you can only expect so much. But what they do is they will kind of incrementally lift their wings higher and higher and show off more of that wing bar. And they do this for one of 3 reasons. Either courtship, it's a male mockingbird saying, hey ladies, check out these wing bars. Or it's a male protecting his territory from another male. He's trying to make himself look a little bigger. Or this is a counter-predatory response. So the bird is literally using itself as its own distraction. And this is common in nesting. After they've built their nests and laid their eggs and hatched them, these birds, say, have a predator approaching. These birds will try to flash some signal So the predator's like, nest, ooh, there's a bird right there. So right now we're seeing it as both courtship and territorial defense. It's really hard to say if this is a male or a female bird because they look identical. During nest construction, males will build the initial kind of twig structure. Females will come in with flowers and actually litter to kind of decorate it and insulate it. So this was a bird we caught right outside my apartment last year. It's hard to say, it looks like a flower petal. So I have a strong suspicion that this is actually a female bird completing a nest rather than a male initiating a nest. So the nest is actually really unique. So it's a medium-sized cup-style nest. So it's the usual like bowl that's about maybe that big in size comparison. Almost like a robin's nest. But the thing that makes them different from robins is the presence of litter. They will readily use trash in their nest construction. And it's because that they've shifted from this desert habitat to a more urban habitat. So mockingbirds nesting in backyards is super common, and a lot of people have problems with them exhibiting this territorial behavior and scaring off other birds. So you've built the nest, so now it's time to lay the eggs. Incubation will last about 12 days, give or take a couple, with what Cornell says 2 to 6 eggs in a clutch. That seems a little high. Usually birds will produce 2 to 3. It depends on a lot. Habitat quality is the first one. Mockingbirds will try to pump out 4 broods. That's stretching it. They'll usually get 3 before winter sets in and call it quits. Sometimes they'll start a little late and get only 2. So we're shooting anywhere between 2 to 4 broods in a season. Like I said, mockingbirds are now nesting in extreme proximity. If you actually step out that door right there, you'll find a mockingbird whining, and that's a sign that there's an intrusion on its nest. And it's literally within 10 feet of a door. On ULR campus, we have them bumped within 2 feet of most of the academic buildings. So when I say in extreme proximity, I mean within spitting distance of academic buildings. Some studies have suggested birds don't care, but as I'll talk about a little bit later, there's some signs that we do actually have a strong negative effect on them, especially when we are high traffic and everyone's decided to walk right next to a nest. This also mentions that the monogamous pairs will usually try to kick out anybody that, hey, maybe I can join you guys. And this makes what lone birds is the official term. They're the only nocturnal mockingbirds. Hey, single Pringles decide to sing at night is kind of the phrase that we use. So I've kind of got 3 goals for this project, and the title kind of sums everything up. The first one is to determine if mockingbirds favor, I guess you can say, a direction in which they build their nest. Do they build all their nests pointing east, west, north, or south? And then the second is, how do these birds nest in do they nest in groups? Do they nest scattered randomly? And then the third was kind of what started this all, and that was my observation of mockingbirds during human traffic. So in distributions, the question is, where do the birds nest? So, like I said, they mentioned high traffic areas. These are my maps. This is ULR campus. This is UAMS campus. This is the River Market, the H.U. Lee Garden and Convention Center. And this is Memorial Park. Notice there's no nests. These are also sites that had no nests. I didn't want to waste the time and actually put them up on pictures. So there's obviously some selection towards urban environments. And so we don't really know why that is. It opens the door to a lot more questions. What makes them select really popular and downtown areas over natural areas? So there's further work to be done there. The next is orientation, and so this is a bunch of intro to stats that I was going to talk about. And a class that I have to give this same talk for. It's a lot of jargon. Let's say, is it okay if we go a couple minutes over? Sorry. Okay. In conclusion, they do favor a direction. They have a strong favorable to Western and Eastern, and not so much as North and South, as you can see on these. Behavior, we do have a strong negative effect.